Hi, I'm Scott Kinville, and this is Generally Speaking, the Herkimer College podcast. My guest this week is not just a Herkimer College legend, but he's a Mohawk Valley legend. Soon to be retiring here at the college, but he's still with us all the same. Mr. Aaron Alford, the Herkimer College bursar. How are you, pal?
I'm well. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having me.
You know, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come talk to us.
It's the best part of my day. What can I say?
So tell us a little bit about your job here at Herkimer.
I'm currently employed as the bursar, and the bursar is responsible for all the student financials, making sure that financial obligations are met, that students dispersing financial aid to accounts, issuing refunds, taking care of residency requirements. So it's a pretty vital job. We need the revenue to continue doing our mission here, and it's a job which it can be a little frustrating, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. It's always a good feeling when you help somebody meet their financial obligations so that they can be successful here at Herkimer.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're the most popular guy on campus when the refund checks come out.
Yeah. When the refund checks come out, I'm either very popular or I've been unpopular in the past. But the students are wonderful. It's the best part of my job. Regardless of whether somebody left my office disappointed or happy, even the students who have some issues, either behaviorally and stuff, I really love the students. I was 18, 19 once, and I made a lot of really bad decisions. So I get it. The kids, any of the kids doing stuff here, they haven't broken any new ground. Let's put it that way.
So nobody's going to pull over one on you.
Yeah, they might. I mean, but I don't judge them with any kind of malice or anything, regardless, as long as they weren't in some kind of violent incident. The kids make mistakes.
That's right.
So,
how long you been up here?
I hit 24 years January 2nd this year, so quite a while. I attended here as well. I graduated from here in 1992, I believe. After, I left Mohawk at high school in 81. That's when I graduated high school, and I went away to college. And first year I went to Potsdam. Second year I transferred to Albany State, which was not a very good fit for a guy from a small town. There's just so many people. I got swallowed up and did a lot of self-medicating through alcohol and stuff, and ended up getting the boot, which turned out to be probably the most important thing that ever happened to me. One of the most important things to happen to me. It's not a bad thing.
Sure.
Yeah, it was my time. You screw up a couple semesters, go find a job. And so after leaving there, I worked around the valley for a few years and ended up in the Air Force, joining the Air Force. And that was probably the most transcendent, other than personal things happen with family, et cetera, marriage and all that. But professionally, that was the most transcendent experience I ever had, was my time with the Air Force. And when I got out, I came here to college.
You know, it's because we both share our same hometown.
Yeah.
We're both from Mohawk. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, similar experience as well, because I too, was here first and then left, went out, had to get a job, and then came back, and now I'm back again.
Yeah.
But, it's funny because college degrees are wonderful, and I think they're a necessary thing to have. But I'll tell you, there's no substitute for life experience.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what you make of it. And, so to anybody out there who may be having a bad time in school, don't sweat it. Sometimes it's okay to take a break, and there's no shame in that. For those students who, when I came back, I did incredible. I was an incredibly successful student, and that can always happen too. But it certainly is an important experience to me still. I think a college degree still has value. I think even a humanities degree, which there's a lot of anti-intellectualism kind of going on in this country right now, and everything is geared towards STEM. But ultimately, I think that a good liberal arts education is as valuable to an employer as something that may have been training you for the workplace. Because until you get on that job, nothing that you learn in college is going to just let you walk into a place and do work.
Right.
It's more how well can you think? Can you think critically? Are you
think on your feet,
analytical?
too.
Are you a problem solver? Can you work with people? Those are the important things.
Sure, absolutely. Well-rounded is the way to go. Yeah. So you've been here 24 years, but it's all coming to an end soon.
Yeah, it is. It's I'm both my parents passed away at a young age, at 60. And I've lost a couple friends, very close friends, as you know, over the years, at a young age. So I'm abandoning the full-time work. I will return to work eventually, doing something, but I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready. It's like when you have a dog, and that dog starts getting older, and he might be having a hard time getting up out of his bed. He may start becoming a little incontinent. I'm not there yet, but eventually, when it's time to put the dog down. Well, that's how I feel about myself right now.
I appreciate you not being incontinent. Thank you.
No.
So when is the retirement date?
Retirement date is 4/20.
4/20.
That's the big day.
Hey, perfect. And you are going to celebrate your retirement by partaking in your other great passion.
That's
music.
Right. And no, it's not weed, it's music. Yeah. So we're going to have a retirement gig at the Mohawk Legion, my home away from home, the one place that I can walk into any time of day and be comfortable. And it's a gig. It's not going to be a party, but it's just going to be a gig.
Yeah, that's
the best thing. And playing music with your friends, there is nothing better. And when you get the right group of people together, it is the most, for me, and for any musician, I know it's more fun than a human being should be allowed to have, as David Letterman used to say.
The Mohawk Legion, the Mohawk Valley's version of Cheers, really.
It really is. It's family. It's really family there. It's a wonderful place. I love it. I walked in last week. I hadn't been there in a while, and your dad was sitting.
I'm sure he was there
at the bar, and I can just walk in and pick up a conversation with anybody. It's like no time has been missed whatsoever with everybody in there.
Right.
And a lot of people might look at some people, well, geez, they're just barflies. They just hang out at the Legion. Well, for a lot of people, as you get older, you lose your social network. It's a great way to get together every day and stay active with somebody. These guys aren't down there leaving polluted for the most part.
Right.
It happens.
Well,
but they just, it's for them, it's getting together. That's their social network. And I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the 20th, you're going to be there with your band that you mentioned. It's the Posers.
The Posers.
Is the name of your band.
That's
so
right.
Tell us a little bit about that band.
Well, we've been at it now for about, I think, 17 years with different lineups. The current lineup, we've been together for going on 7 years now, I believe. We play classic rock. We try to just play music that doesn't suck, is kind of how we approach it. We try to avoid the warmed-over bar hits that a lot of bands have played over the years, which I think a lot of bands are getting away from that anyways. But we try to play things that people know but are a little eclectic.
Sure.
And that are danceable and fun.
It's so funny you say that because we just had a conversation about this like a couple weeks ago. The college radio station is right over here through that door. And I told you, cheap shameless plug, I do the Awesome 80s lunch hour on Fridays, 12:15 to 1:15, by the way. Anybody, 91.5 WVHC if you're paying attention. And anyways, we were talking about the beauty of college radio, where you can actually play music that, not quite the super huge hits, because that's what I like to do too. The songs that, wow, I haven't heard that in a really long time. Who did that song anyway? I can't remember, right?
Yeah. And I'm surprised more commercial radios. I mean, everything's controlled by big national corporations now. But it's kind of sad that radio has gotten away from, there's the program direction. It's so overbearing on these. I know one local DJ is a fantastic human being, fantastic DJ. And if he gets in a few really deep tracks in a show, that's a good night.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I know that if he had his way, he'd be turning people on to some incredible music because the guy's a wealth of musical knowledge. But you're stuck with the corporate model, and you have to do what you have to do.
Well, that's why sometimes that's the beauty of listening to radio, like on Sunday mornings.
Yeah,
You hear
yeah.
like the recovery room and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's great. What instrument do you play?
I play rhythm guitar and some harmonica, and I sing a few songs, and I do the sound for the band. That's
You're
that's a
everything.
lot. Yeah, I pretty much I am everything, Scott.
I never doubted it for a
I'm
second.
omniscient. That's right.
Well, I'll tell you, we got a clip of your Posers band. I think it's a practice clip. So we're going to check that out, and when we come back, you're going to have to tell us what's going on here, okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Come on, try a little. Nothing is forever. It's got to be something better than in the middle. Or did you try? Can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Well, yo, singing in a honky-tonk cafe. Ha! Nobody's hearing what you play, but that's all right, 'cause two men's are drinking anyway. Lord have mercy, keep on smiling. You are searching for a place to hide. Nothing wrong.
The appropriate tone for a song. It's
Totally nailed it.
very important.
All right, and we are back. Awesome clip. So you got to tell us who the rest of the band members are.
Yeah, we have our bass player is Rick DeJohn. If you've been in the following music in the Mohawk Valley for the last 50 years, Rick has been playing for the last 50 years. He's played with everyone. Jamie Burling is our other guitar player slash lead singer. Jamie as well, he's been playing for years. He last big band he was with was the Carmen Brickfield band.
Oh, wow.
You remember them?
I remember them.
Yeah. On lead guitar and lead vocals and general craziness is Doug Flanagan. He's kind of my partner in crime in the band. Doug is the master of impression. He's the master of he's a really funny guy. On top of that, he's a phenomenal guitar player and really good singer. Yeah, it's
And a
like
really
I'm-
good friend of Mr. Gassman as well.
That's right. But it's an honor to be with these people. It's like, how the hell can a schlep like me get to play with these incredible people? And on the drums is my wife, Becky Alford, who is also a college employee in the IT department.
There you go.
So that's really cool. It's a wonderful thing that we share. Not a lot of couples are blessed to be able to share that together. And the band calls us the Bickersons. And like, because all we have to do is look at each other and we can be bickering about tempo, bickering about something.
I was just going to ask you, is it always smooth sailing given that you're husband and wife, or is it...
It's usually very smooth sailing. There's been times at gigs when you'll see the look being shot between us. It's we're basically like the Ray and Dave Davies of the band. Hasn't come fisticuffs yet.
I was going to say, she's not throwing a drumstick at you or anything.
No, that's happened.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
well-
that's happened.
We'll have to get a video clip of that as well.
So I'm really blessed that and I've played with a lot of other great players here in the Valley. It's like I just scratch my head sometimes to say, why would they be with me? Then I realize it's just because I'm freaking awesome, man.
See?
No, just kidding.
We've already touched on that. Exactly.
I think it's because we're easygoing people that are fun to work with.
Right. And you just got this aura about you.
Yeah.
So growing up, who were some of your musical influences?
The first thing that comes to mind was I remember I went to the store to buy an 8-track and it had a song on there, Rock On. And I was looking for David Essex's Rock On. So,
right.
hey, kids, rock and roll, that one. So I get home with it and I put it in. It was like this music from outer space. It was T-Rex and the album The Slider. It didn't have any really big radio hits here in the States. But to this day, that's the one that really grabbed me right by the cockles and said, "This is life." After that, then I went through the usual '70s stuff, Alice Cooper and stuff. Alice Cooper. I got into prog rock when I was younger. As far as influences, and my favorite guitar player is Joe Walsh. He's just the master of very tasty playing. He never overplays. He plays the right sound, the right notes, and he's also about the coolest guy on earth. Joe Walsh 2024, please.
Well, his Maserati does 185.
That's right. Yeah, he's also absolutely hilarious. But I love Joe Walsh. Lou Reed is probably one of my biggest influences. Neil Young and Lou Reed are probably my biggest. They're both very primitive players. Lou is an incredible rhythm player who doesn't get enough credit for his playing because he's not a soloist. He's just a solid rhythm player who writes great music and is an incredible writer. Those are my biggest influences, I'd say, Neil and Lou.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got some great choices there. And, you had talked about 8-tracks. And, I remember, I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
And you know what? There was a beauty back then of going to, like, a record store to buy a record, or more or less in my time, like, cassettes were huge.
Yeah.
But there was still something special about that, like walking into a record giant in Ilion,
Yeah.
the Last Unicorn here in Herkimer.
Yeah.
It was like a magical experience.
It was incredible. I mean, we all bought albums based on the album cover.
Sure.
For me, that's how I got into Bebop Deluxe, Naked Lady Behind Glass with a flaming Les Paul. I was all in on that. I had to have that record. But I remember, I was a music geek. Me, my buddy Tommy, and a few other real music geeks. And we'd walk over in the dead of winter to go to the record store to get a record. If they didn't have it, we'd have to go into this big yellow book and thumb through it, find it in there, then walk back over 2 weeks later. Woolworths in Herkimer,
Oh,
the old
yes.
5 and dime.
Yes.
That used to be a great place for poor people to get good music because there's all the cutouts in there for dollar in the dollar bin.
Right. Yeah, the 45s, or if you didn't have enough money to get the whole album, you got the 45s, so you just got 2 songs.
That was Mr. C's, remember?
Yes, Mr. C's music, that's
El
right.
Carmedella.
Yes, absolutely.
He was and the funny thing is, 40 years later, I'm in a poker game with him. I used to play poker with him all the time, Mr. C.
Wow.
He's the funniest guy ever.
Go there for the concert tickets, too.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember I waited out when they were at the Domes, out on Route 5 there. I waited all night in the dead of winter to make sure I got tickets for a Bruce Springsteen concert out in Rochester.
Oh, boy.
So, that's living. When you got to sleep in your car all night so you can make sure you're first in the, that's unheard of now with the internet and all that. But
it's horrible, the ticketing system. I mean, I feel bad for kids that do not experience all this cool stuff.
Yeah, because, it made it, it was worth it because I worked for that ticket, darn it.
Yeah.
I froze. Come on.
Yeah. I remember standing in line. It was one of the first several people in line. Dave Powinski, it was an English teacher. He was right there with me, getting tickets for Dylan. Then the night of the show, I got the flu and I couldn't go. So. But chasing the tickets was a lot. I think it brought out, things weren't being bought up by people with money.
Right.
They were being bought by the fans who really, really loved these bands.
Right.
They were affordable shows because they could sell albums. Now the bands can't even sell their music.
Can't do anything now. Yeah.
God, I was watching a Rick Beato special this morning, and if you get 1 billion views, 1 billion listens on Spotify, that translates to the songwriter about $1 million, and that has to be split between the people, whoever else contributed on that. So the only way people can make money is on the road now.
Yeah, I mean, and all that's changed too. I mean, the beauty of getting the actual ticket and keeping the stub, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, and that was back when you can go to a real good show for like maybe $20-$25 tops, right?
Yeah.
Now it's $200 if you want to sit in the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
And people want to get mad at the artists and all that, but when you look at the astronomical cost of everything involved with it, you really can't blame them.
They got to make a living.
They got to eat too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, back 79, 80, that's when I started going to shows. Tickets were $6 to $8.
Yeah.
Seeing Rush, Jethro Tull, Todd Rundgren's Utopia, all these incredible bands went through Utica.
Right.
That I miss. Being able to go to a 5,000 seat arena and seeing the biggest bands in the country. It was a pretty charmed time for music.
Yeah, you just didn't realize how good you had it. You had awesome radio. I mean, we still got WOUR.
Yeah.
But dug this out of our radio station. I don't know if you can see that or not with the camera, but it's a plaque from Rock 107 to WVHC when it started.
Oh, my.
1993.
Wow.
That station, my goodness, it just goes way back.
Does it still exist?
I think it still exists, but it's not a rock station, of course. But, thinking back then, there was that 98.7 Z. I remember that station.
Yeah.
It was again, like you said, it was a magical time.
96.1 WODZ. That was my thing.
Yes.
My buddy and I used to grab a 12-pack of beer, throw it in our backpacks, and go for midnight hikes, listening to WODZ, all the deep cuts from the late 50s, early 60s. Late 60s at the latest. God, it was good.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that too, because we just talked about Spotify, and yes, it's awesome having any song you want right at your fingertips. But there was also something magical about sitting on that radio and waiting for a song that you wanted to say, "Oh, it's on!"
Hit the cassette machine.
I did the same thing. My parents had this console radio record player set up.
Yeah.
And it had the speakers on the side. And I think I was like 8 years old. And I got a cassette player for my birthday, which I thought was like the pinnacle of technical. It was more primitive than that, right? So I used to set it on the table, have Rock 107, and I still got those mixtapes.
Oh, yeah?
But I mean, it's all complete. You can barely make it out, but it's still, it's cool to me. What was cool at 9 years old or 8 years old, whatever I was doing that.
Well, it was a way to get music.
Yeah, and I try to explain that to my 14-year-old daughter now, and she's just looking at me like, "What? You did what?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just look it up on the internet?" Never mind. Never mind.
Oh, you remember back when we used to have to walk to school? Driving snow.
Back in my day, we had to watch it on VCR tapes.
VCRs. Jeez, we had Super 8 movies.
Yeah.
So the world changes.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just change.
And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I'm very happy to have my Spotify playlist now.
I would have never left my parents' house if kids had what they have today. I'd be a mess. I'd be just so deep into content. It's like, I just, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But, like I said, we share a hometown, which, I'm glad I grew up in Mohawk. Great place to grow up, great place to live.
There were always so many kids around to play with.
Yeah.
And I know the young kids probably are sick to death if they log into Facebook and, well, when I was a kid, we drank from the hose. Our parents let us out. We didn't come home until the lights came on. And if we didn't, we got our butt handed to us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to all that. But there's also, there's a dark side to growing up in the 70s, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brutal homophobia.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
A lot of things that we should be ashamed from, and thankfully we've learned and we've grown from then.
Sure.
But Mohawk, getting back to Mohawk was I've seen more zany, insane things happen in that town, and I tell people about them.
I know.
And, my service buddies and stuff, and they did not have that experience. They all came from, very middle-class suburbia. And but Mohawk, I think amongst all the towns, it had a lot of really, really offbeat, fun stuff happening in it.
Absolutely. And it's funny, it's the same experience. Like, I'll tell people, and they're like, no. I'm like, no, really, this happened.
Yeah. I remember Guy, my friend Guy, that I alluded to earlier, jumping onto the back of his truck, and when we got to the bottom of Casey Hill, it was a icy, snowy day. 3 of us grabbing onto the bumper and doing style skitching, laying on our backs, rolling over onto our stomach, all the way up to where Mason Road is,
Yep.
which, as you know, is a few miles. And once wasn't enough. We just kept doing it. And there was beer involved.
Well, hey, what are you gonna do, right? But I'll tell you, it's scary now that I'm a parent, thinking to myself,
oh my
my
God.
goodness.
No,
I have to be careful about what I say around my kids now, because it's like, well, they're gonna wait. Dad did that? Like, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, and we knew some pretty offbeat,
Yeah.
fun people
Yeah,
who still are offbeat and fun.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so great.
Yeah, and that's like I was saying earlier, where I can walk into that Mohawk Legion and I'm home.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even feel like I'm walking into. It actually feels like you're walking into your home.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the best. It's
Well-
nice to grow up in a town like that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I can't, because I'll be there for your show on the 20th.
Nice.
I can tell you that
Nice.
right now. I can't wait to come see that.
Yeah, it's open to the public. Anybody who wants to come out and party with the Posers on 420. We actually learned a few songs specifically for 420, which might have to do with the Devil's Lettuce, but
Well, hey.
it'll be a good show.
That's right, absolutely. and just in closing, now that you're retiring and you're moving on to the next chapter of your life, what would you say to a prospective student that the college has to offer, why they should come here?
We have the greatest faculty, that committed, caring faculty that you will ever find anywhere. And I can say that as a guy who's been thrown out of a number of colleges. But they truly are incredibly passionate about their subjects, about whatever their area is, and they're passionate about the students, and they care about the students. And the student-faculty ratio is ridiculously low compared to sitting in a big lecture hall with 500 other students trying to learn intro to biology. It's a fantastic academic institution, and I'm very proud to be part of it. That's what my favorite part of this job has been, being able to speak with all these incredibly intelligent people from all their different disciplines. I love our faculty so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly attest to that, being a student here as well. Herkimer.edu, if you want any more information about that. I think summer class signups are going on right now, soon to be followed by fall of this year. So, Aaron, always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm so glad you were able to get on this show before you retired.
I am too. Thank you for having me, Scott.
Absolutely. Anytime. It's great to see you again. And like I said, I will see you on the 20th down at the Mohawk Legion anyway. And that is open to the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
What time does it start again?
We'll play 6 to 9.
6 to 9. All right. Well, there you have it. April 20th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Mohawk Legion. Come check out Aaron Alford and his band, The Posers. Well, that's all the time we got for this episode. Again, I want to thank Aaron for coming on, and we want to thank you, the viewer, for watching. And we will see you next time on Generally Speaking.